Hi, the purpose of this video is to show the new features of the GIS 360 eComms module. Now what eComms does is it allows you to communicate directly with your Office systems. Instead of loading and saving files and transferring files, eComms will basically take care of it for you. Now I'll start by showing how you turn it on. Under the Utilities bar there we have a tab called eComms. And in here you put in two email addresses. Your email address where you're sending messages from. This is where the machine will send messages to the Office PC. And then the email address that it's going to, which is an email address for your Office or your Office PC. You can have its own email address or whatever. Notice there's a password down there. You put in all the parameters for both emails. And then up here where it says email comms, put individual records. That means that it will send a message on every record that you create, edit, or delete. Okay, so now that you've done that, the system is running. And notice I've got a GPS running here at the moment. Actually, turn that on. Right, we have a GPS running, and we're collecting positions. Now, let's say I want to put down a survey point. Now, I'm not going to use the GPS, I'm just going to use a pen and dot it on the screen. So let's say I put my survey point down here. I'll say that's point number 2, and I won't put a description in. And notice how that little transmitting box appeared. Okay. And disappeared. That means that it sent the new item to your central database. Okay, now let's say I want to do the same thing. This time I'm going to do it with the GPS. So press the GPS. Oops, hang on. Actually, I have to new record. Press the GPS. Notice the transmitting appeared. And let's say this point number 3, and transmitting appeared again. Now that's interesting because what it did was it saved the GPS data, and then it saved the survey point data or the GIS data separately. So when this is running, the user goes about his work normally, collecting data, collecting points, lines, polygons, whatever you feel like collecting. The only difference is that little window appears every once in a while. It's the only thing that they'll ever notice. In fact, even that can be taken off. So basically, when it's working, there's no effect on their daily work. Now, what happens to all this? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my Office PC. So hang on one second. Okay, now I'm on my Office PC. And now I want to go to Utilities and the eComms tab again, and then press the Update button down at the bottom. Okay, and the ticking noise is the records coming in. And now that the records are there, you see there's my survey point. And there's my GPS. The one I did with GPS is there. Let me just zoom out so you can see both of them. And click on one, you can see it's point number 2, no description, as I said earlier. So that data has migrated to our Office PC without having to transfer any files or anything. Now, you can imagine that if you're a land surveyor, effectively all of your work, you go out, you collect a point. Every point you collect, every object you collect is automatically being sent back to the base all the time. Now, there's no reason that these survey points, there couldn't be 10,000 survey points, and they came from 100 different surveyors. all sending data back to the same place. Now this is where it starts to get kind of powerful. Now in this case, what I've done is we've made the system read the data back into GIS 360 in the office. It doesn't have to go to GIS 360 in the office. It can go to a variety of other places. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. I need to switch to a different piece of software, so I'll just do that one moment. Okay, now that we've shown how by using the ecom system you can set it up and the user in the field works as per normal with no changes in their methodology. They collect data, they edit data, they delete data. All those actions create messages. Those messages then go back to your office system, which I've just demonstrated can be GIS 360, but it can also be other systems. One thing I should note is that if your field system doesn't have an internet connection, what will happen is all these messages will be buffered, and then as soon as it does receive an internet connection, it will send them all. So you don't have to worry about having, if you're out in a remote area, don't worry about it. It'll all be up to date. Okay, so now when the office data doesn't just go to GIS 360, it also goes to the cloud. Now here we have a little program that we can include with GIS 360. Now what this does is this accesses the cloud. Now here we have the different data types that I've collected over the last few weeks. One of the major differences here is don't think of the world in terms of go out, collect a site, and then gather a data file and bring that data file back to the office. Basically in here you can have a record of everything you've ever done, one item at a time. Okay, so for example, if I select the GPS data, those are the GPS points that I've collected recently. Okay, or if I want to look at the trees, or sorry, the survey points that I've just collected, they're the two survey points. Remember point 2 and point 3? Now this data doesn't exist on my computer. This data exists in the cloud system. So anyone that has the correct password can log on and receive the data. So you have a perfect backup for everything, all of your work. Now again, thinking as a land surveyor, you could have literally all of your GPS data, every GPS point you ever collected could just be stored here. It wouldn't cost much, and it wouldn't really cause you any problem as the ultimate backup. Now there's another plus point here in that ESRI can read this data directly and write this data directly. Now there's still a little bit of work to do there, but effectively this is, think of it as the back door into ESRI. You have a perfect data transfer to Esri via this method. And I won't go into all the technical details of that, and there's still some work being done, but anyway. Now we also have here a couple of other things on this little demo program, which I was going to include with GIS 360, or it could be sold separately. That remains to be decided. Now let's say we have here all the trees that I've collected recently. So I'll say I want to do a search and find me, I want species equals elm. So what I want to do is find all of the trees where that are elm trees that I've ever surveyed. In this case it's not too many. Now I click on that, there they all are. Now I can press view. Takes it a few seconds. Okay, and let's click on this one. And there's an elm tree, and there's the data on it. So you've got a very crude, simplistic GIS, but for someone like, for example, your local tree surveyor or your local street lighting local government group might not want to have a full-blown system, and this is a very easy way that they can keep records on their data. The basis of this is to provide, in summary, is a universal transfer method that we could use on Esri. We can use with Oracle Spatial, for example. You can even set it up to work with a spreadsheet. So the idea is it's a universal transfer mechanism back and forth, and it works basically with one record at a time, sending a message. Now there's no reason the system can't be extended to also receive data. In fact, it's already set up for it. So you could have a very simple system whereby the Office system could send a record to a field system to say, go and fix a pothole in this place, and then that record will instantly appeal on the field system. So it's basically a two-way transfer mechanism. Now this is pretty much ready to go. There's a little work to do on the Esri side, but it's certainly ready for testing.